Hey guys, welcome back. Tonight, we're drifting into the hidden side of history. The dark, quiet, forgotten corners of the world's most mysterious port cities. From the sailor taverns of 1650 Amsterdam to Rotterdam's underground warehouses, London's fog-soaked opium dens, the tropical spice nights of Singapore, the golden sunset of Marseille, and the neon-lit midnight docks of 1955 New York. These are the ports where secrets moved faster than ships, where smugglers, fishermen, soldiers, and night workers lived lives almost no textbook ever mentions. And tonight, we'd listen to them, softly, slowly, like a tide pulling us into sleep. So before you get comfortable, take a gentle moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if these deep sleep history stories help you find peace, sleep better, or simply reflect on our shared journey through time. Now, close your eyes, let your breathing slow, and allow the world's darkest harbors to guide you into a deeper, quieter night.
Tonight, we begin where countless journeys once began, on the edge of Amsterdam's harbor, in the year 1650, when the world smelled of salt, tar, wet timber, and faraway promises. The sun is slipping behind the masts, turning the water into a sheet of amber glass. Along the docks, sailors move like tired shadows, boots thudding softly against the planks as gulls circle overhead, their cries dissolving into the evening wind. And tucked between a rope shop and a candle maker stands a place almost every sailor knew, the tavern called de the Gilded Lion. Its sign creaks gently, a carved wooden lion painted gold long ago, now faded to something softer, something that feels like the memory of gold. Inside, the world grows warm and sleepy. Oak tables worn smooth by elbows and spilled stories. Lanterns swaying slightly from iron hooks. A stone hearth glowing with a gentle fire that pops every now and then, as if clearing its throat before settling back into its own dreams. The air smells of roasted barley, pipe smoke, and the sharp, familiar bite of Jenever, the Dutch gin that sailors claimed could warm a man faster than any blanket. Behind the bar stands Hendrik, 65, slow-moving, kind-eyed, with hands scarred from decades of hauling barrels, wiping counters, and breaking up the occasional drunken argument. Time has made him patient. He pours every drink as if it were a quiet ritual. Near him drifts Anna, 28, the soft-spoken server who carries trays with a grace that comes from years of navigating crowded tables and unpredictable sailors. Her hair is tied loosely, her sleeves rolled to her elbows, and she has that calm presence, the kind that makes even restless men slow down a little. Tonight is one of the quieter evenings. A trio of sailors hum a familiar sea shanty near the hearth, their voices low, almost blending with the crackling wood. Another sailor sits alone, tracing the rim of his cup, lost in thoughts of tomorrow's voyage. And in a corner booth, two merchants whisper over maps, making plans for shipments bound for places most people here will never see. Hendrik has just updated the tavern's menu, though almost no one ever reads it. Still, he hangs it near the counter with pride. Smoked herring, 3 stewers. Cheese loaf, 2. Hot barley stew, 4. Gin by the cup, 1. Gin by the bottle, 6. The words are plain, the items simple, and perhaps that is why they are perfect for tonight. For a sleep story should never hurry. It should wander slowly, like a lantern carried through a quiet hallway. The tavern feels like a small world floating gently inside a much larger one. Everything slows. The fires glow, the creak of floorboards, the distant rhythm of ships shifting in the tide. Even the wind outside has softened, brushing against the windows with a long, peaceful sigh. Yet, under this calm, the harbor holds secrets. Every port city does. Smugglers, night traders, quiet deals, whispered promises. But those stories belong to another place, a darker corner of the coast, a place where lanterns burn low, not for warmth, but for secrecy. In a few moments, we'll drift there, but for now, let the tavern cradle you in its gentle warmth. Let the gilded lion fade softly like a candle at the end of a long night. And when the last ember settles in the hearth, we sail onward to a warehouse in Rotterdam in the year 1720, where the night is waiting with secrets stacked behind locked doors.
Night settles over Rotterdam like a quiet veil, cool and slightly damp from the North Sea wind drifting across the docks. Ships creak softly against their moorings, and the lanterns along the piers glow with a muted yellow light that trembles each time a gust slips past. But tonight, the true life of Rotterdam does not move on the surface. It beats beneath it, in the underground warehouses that lie hidden below the cobblestones. Long corridors of brick and shadow, older than many of the streets above. The entrance is small and unremarkable. A wooden door set behind stacks of crates, its hinges rusted, its handle worn smooth by hands that know where to find it. It opens with a muffled groan, revealing a staircase that descends into darkness. The air grows cooler step by step until the sound of the harbor fades entirely, replaced by the echo of boots on stone. At the bottom stands Peter, the warehouse keeper. He is not a tall man, nor particularly strong, but his presence carries the weight of someone who knows every brick, every corridor, every secret of this underground maze. A small lantern hangs from his hand, its flame swaying gently as he walks deeper inside. Shadows shift across the arched ceiling,
built 4 meters high from thick red bricks laid carefully, stone on stone, nearly a century before. The walls are 60 centimeters thick, meant to hold cold air and silence more securely than any lock. Along the corridor, stacks of cargo sit in neat rows, barrels of salted herring, crates marked with East India stamps, sacks of pepper, cloves, and turmeric, bundles of wool, and tucked carefully behind heavier cargo, smaller unmarked packages whose contents are known only to a handful of men. This network of warehouses is not simply storage, it is a breathing organ of the port, one that hides, protects, and occasionally deceives. Jan, a young laborer, lifts a large sack onto his shoulder. His arms strain, his breath fogs in the cold underground air, but he carries the load steadily. Jan works long hours, often more than 10 a day, yet he never complains. His father hauled sacks before him, and his grandfather before that. This place feels like part of his blood, whether he ever chose it or not. As he walks, chalk symbols glow faintly on the bricks, little circles, triangles, slashes, nothing obvious, nothing suspicious, but each one meaningful. Peter designed them himself, a secret code meant to track the movement of contraband. A triangle means move tonight. A circle means leave untouched. A line through either symbol means ask no questions. Jan has never asked what the code truly hides. Some secrets in a port city are kinder when left unopened. Further in, the warehouse widens into a large chamber lit by only 2 lanterns. Their soft glow reflects off barrels knacked nearly to the ceiling, and the air smells faintly of spice, salt, and damp earth. Peter pauses here, placing his lantern on a crate. He closes his eyes briefly, letting the quiet settle. Up above, the city can be chaotic. Markets, storms, sailors, shouting. But down here, everything breathes slowly. Even time feels different, thicker, like honey poured in the dark. Jan sets his sack down gently and stretches his back. He thinks of his small home on the outskirts of the city, his wife stirring soup over a fire, his daughter tracing shapes in the dust outside their door. Their life is simple, sometimes difficult, but steady. And it is this warehouse, with its endless rows of cargo, both legal and not, that keeps their home warm, their bellies full, their little world turning. The lantern flickers, dust swirls in the air like drifting snow, and the underground warehouse settles deeper into its nightly rhythm, waiting quietly for whatever the darkness chooses to bring. The lantern's flame bends slightly as a draft slithers through the warehouse corridor, as though the underground air itself is stretching after hours of stillness. Peter notices the shift instantly. He has worked here long enough to understand that the warehouse breathes like a great animal, quiet, patient, but never fully asleep. He raises his lantern, letting the soft glow skim the tops of the crates, checking for anything out of place. Nothing is missing, nothing moved, yet the air feels different, heavier, like a secret waiting to settle. Jan, meanwhile, ties a strip of canvas around a bundle of small parcels. He is not meant to know what lies inside, but he feels the weight of each wrapped bundle with a quiet respect. Contraband or not, everything that passes through this hidden world feeds families. Even whispers have value here. He stacks the parcels gently, aligning them with a chalk mark Peter drew earlier, a single curved symbol like a half moon. It means hold, at least for tonight. Above them, faint vibrations tremble through the ceiling. They are not footsteps. The rhythm is too steady. It is the rumble of a departing ship, a deep, distant exhale that drags across the beams. To Jan, the sound is comforting. It means the port continues turning even when he cannot see it. Peter finishes inspecting the corridor and returns to the central chamber. He sets his lantern down and rubs his hands together, as though trying to warm away decades of cold stone. "We'll close soon," he murmurs, his voice low enough to blend with the silence. Jan nods, rolling his shoulders to ease the ache. But neither man is truly ready to leave. There is something about the warehouse, its darkness, its steady walls, its cool air, that holds them like a slow, deep lullaby. This place is more than work. It is a refuge from the chaos above. Peter sits on a low crate, carefully, as though the crate might be listening, and gazes down the corridor. "When I was your age," he says softly, "these chambers weren't so quiet. Ships came in faster. Goods changed hands before midnight. Some nights you could feel the walls shake from the movement." His voice drifts like dust in lamplight. But the city changes, the sea changes, even secrets change shape. Jan listens without speaking. Stories told underground feel different, weightier, as if the walls remember. The two lanterns flicker, their light dancing on bricks that have seen hundreds of storms, trades, deals, arguments, departures, and returns. Far in the distance, the drip of water echoes, slow and gentle. Jan thinks again of his daughter, how she traces circles in the dirt. He imagines drawing these chalk symbols for her someday, not their real meaning, but the shapes themselves, like a puzzle only she might unlock. Peter stands and dusts off his coat. "Time," he whispers. They begin the closing ritual. It is simple. Extinguish the smaller lantern, stack the tools, secure the heavier crates, brush away any chalk that no longer serves a purpose. The warehouse must sleep cleanly. Jan brushes off the half-moon symbol with care. As it fades, he feels as though he is lifting a veil. The chamber grows darker, quieter. Peter lifts the remaining lantern and heads towards the staircase. Jan follows. With each step upward, the temperature rises, the air thickens, and distant sounds grow clearer. Wind, waves, a creaking mast. They push open the wooden door. Night air rushes in, cool and salty. The surface world feels louder, sharper, almost blinding after the calm below. Jan pulls his coat tighter. Peter inhales deeply, his breath forming a faint cloud. The docks stretch out before them, softened by a thin, silver fog drifting in from the north. A ship's bell rings gently. A gull calls once before disappearing into the mist. Rotterdam is awake, even at this hour. But the fog carries a hint of something else, something vast, cold, and old. Peter squints towards the harbor. "London," he says softly, as if naming a memory. Jan follows his gaze. A ship bound west is preparing to depart, its lights glowing like small stars in the haze. The fog catches them, bends them, and suddenly the night feels different. Thicker, heavier, like a curtain being drawn across continents. And just beyond that curtain waits another port, one choked in fog, steam, and the weary breath of a city growing faster than its people can keep up with. Soon, the docks of London, 1850, will rise from the mist.
The fog in London does not merely fall, it grows slowly and deliberately until every street, every rooftop, every gas lamp becomes blurred into a world made of soft gray breath. Down by the docks, where the Thames curves like a slow animal through the heart of the city, the air is thick enough to muffle even the sharpest sound. Footsteps dissolve before they settle. Lanterns hover like pale moons caught too low. Steam from the newly arrived paddle ships folds into the mist, making every silhouette swell and fade as though the city itself is exhaling in long, weary sighs. Through this muted world walks Patrick O'Connell, an Irish sailor with a coat too thin for London's cold, but a gait steady from years on the sea. He keeps one hand on the rail as he makes his way along the damp wooden planks of the dock. Each board glistens with moisture, shining faintly under the trembling glow of sparse lamps. Somewhere in the distance, a ship's whistle moans, a low, dragging note that seems to come from beneath the river rather than above it. Beside the docks, warehouses loom as dark shapes, great stone giants built to hold cargo from every corner of the world. Tea from Canton, spices from Java, cotton from Bengal, carpets from Persia. Workers move between them in slow columns, their shoulders hunched beneath heavy sacks. The fog softens their outlines until they resemble ghostly figures from a half-remembered dream. Their shifts last 12 hours. Their pay is scarcely 20 shillings a week. Yet their footsteps, soft, deliberate, sound almost like the heartbeat of the docks. Patrick passes a cluster of them huddled near a brazier filled with glowing coals. The men warm their hands in silence, letting the red light paint their faces in flickering amber. Further down the docks, a narrow alley leads to Limehouse, the district whispered about by sailors from Boston to Bombay. And tucked into one of its fog-soaked corners lies a small opium den run by Mr. Chen, whose quiet voice and steady hands have become as much a part of Limehouse lore as the sweet, smoky scent that curls beneath its door. Tonight, Patrick is drawn to the den not for escape, but for warmth. A few minutes of stillness in a city that churns like a restless machine. He pushes open the door and steps into a room lit by small oil lamps whose flames barely reach the edges of the wooden walls. The light is golden but soft, as if filtered through 1,000 layers of silk. Mats are arranged along the floor, each with a thin pillow and a long bamboo pipe. The sweet, heavy perfume of opium drifts through the air, settling into the fabric of the room like fog settling into stone. Mr. Chen sits cross-legged beside a tray of glowing embers, tending to the pipes with practiced motions. His expression is calm but weary, as though he has learned more about human longing than any man should. Patrick nods to him quietly and settles near the corner, pulling off his damp gloves and letting the warmth seep back into his fingers. Outside, the fog thickens against the windows until even the glow of the lamps cannot reach beyond the glass. For a moment, the whole world seems reduced to this small room. Breath, firelight, soft murmurs, the faint crackle of burning oil. Patrick leans his head back, exhaling slowly. The fog, the steam, the river, the cold, they all fade into a gentler rhythm. The docks outside may be harsh and unforgiving, but here, in this hush of warmth and shadow, the night folds itself into a softer shape. And in this softness, the story of the fog begins to deepen. The warmth inside the opium den lingers like a gentle hand resting on Patrick's shoulders, and for a long moment he simply sits, letting the quiet settle around him like an extra layer of fog. The lamps flicker, their soft halos trembling each time a draft squeezes through the cracks of the wooden frame. A man nearby exhales a slow stream of smoke, the trail curling upward in delicate spirals before dissolving into the dimness. It is easy in this room to forget the world outside, its noise, its labor, its unending hunger. But the fog has a way of reminding someone it exists. A faint horn sounds from the river, the note stretching across the water like a string pulled taut. Patrick opens his eyes and shifts his weight, listening again to the muffled chorus of the docks. Even from inside this quiet refuge, he can hear crates being dragged, whistles blowing, boots slamming into wet wood. The city never truly stops, it only hides its exhaustion behind the fog. Mr. Chen notices Patrick preparing to stand and gives a small nod as though granting permission to step back into the colder world outside. Patrick thanks him with a gentle incline of the head, slips on his gloves, and pushes open the creaking door. The fog presses in immediately. The lamps of Limehouse appear as little more than trembling orbs suspended in the murk. The air smells of coal smoke, tea leaves, and river mud. Patrick walks slowly, careful not to lose his footing on the slick cobblestones. The fog makes the world feel intimate, small, pressed close, yet strangely infinite. Sounds warp, stretch, disappear. Figures emerge just to melt away again. Along the dockside, workers continue their endless shifts, silhouettes climbing up and down gangplanks like shadows performing a quiet ritual. Patrick watches them for a time, their movements steady, almost rhythmic. He knows this life, cold nights, aching hands, work that wears the body down but keeps the heart anchored. He breathes out, watching his breath join the fog. Ahead through the pale haze, he sees a familiar sight, a lone street vendor sitting beside a crate, selling roasted chestnuts. The heat from the small brazier casts an orange glow against the gray, and Patrick approaches, taking comfort in the simple warmth. The vendor barely speaks English, but smiles knowingly, handing Patrick a small paper cone of steaming chestnuts. Patrick presses a coin into the man's hand, feeling the rough calluses, another worker shaped by the city's relentless pulse. As Patrick continues walking, the chestnuts warming his palms through the thin paper, the fog shifts slightly. A gust of wind pushes a thick sheet of gray down the street, and for a brief moment he can see the outlines of steamships, massive, hulking shapes dozing at their moorings. Their iron hulls glisten in the dim light, wet from mist and river spray. One of them releases a slow cloud of steam, a gentle sigh that mingles with the fog until they become indistinguishable. Steam, fog, breath, everything blends in London. Patrick pauses on the pier. The boards beneath his boots vibrate faintly from the engines of distant ships. The world feels suspended, caught between movement and stillness. He closes his eyes again, taking in the cold, the quiet, the weight of the air. And then another sound breaks through the silence. A low roll of thunder, not from the sky, but from the docks themselves. The tropical clatter of wooden crates, a voice speaking Malay somewhere nearby, a scent, sweet, sharp, unmistakable, drifting through the fog. Nutmeg. London recedes, fog thins, heat rises. A new port begins to shimmer at the edges of consciousness. And slowly, gently, the docks of Singapore 1880 begin to open like a lantern glowing in the night.
The first thing you feel in Singapore at night is not the heat, but the softness of it, the way it wraps around the skin, warm and velvety, like someone draping a damp silk shawl across your shoulders. The harbor glows under a sky still holding the last stain of sunset, a deep indigo brushed with faint gold. Lanterns swing from wooden beams and ship masts, their reflections trembling across the black water like strings of floating fireflies. Voices weave through the humid air, Malay fishermen bargaining softly, Chinese porters calling to one another, Tamil spice traders rolling barrels toward the warehouses, British officers strolling with their coats slung loosely over one arm. Singapore is a crossroads, a place where cultures do not merely meet, but dissolve, merge, and reappear as something entirely their own. And in the middle of this warm mosaic stands Rajan, an Indian spice merchant whose hands smell perpetually of pepper, cloves, and sun-dried cinnamon. He sits on a low wooden crate
beneath a canvas awning, sorting through sacks of spices stacked like soft mountains around him. Each sack holds a different note of the world. The bright sting of black pepper that prickles the nose, the sweet fire of clove buds, the earthy perfume of nutmeg wrapped in its crimson lace of mace. Rajan touches each handful with the tenderness of a man handling memories rather than merchandise. Across from him, Ahmad, a Malay boatman with the easy posture of someone raised by the tide, rests beside his small wooden skiff. His shirt is damp with sea spray, his hair tousled by the evening breeze. He watches the market unfold with the quiet eyes of someone who knows every sound of the harbor. The splash of oars, the thump of crates, the distant metal clang from a steamship newly arrived. The night market hums gently around them. Stalls glow with warm lamplight. The scent of durian, sweet, sharp, unmistakable, mingles with dried fish, tamarind, and cardamom. Somewhere nearby, someone is frying dough in hot oil, the sizzling sound rising and falling like a spark in the dark. Rajan works slowly, carefully. He pinches a clove between his fingers, rubs it lightly, and breathes in as though reading a letter sent from a faraway land. Ahmad tilts his head, amused. "You test every one?" he asks softly. Rajan smiles. "A spice has a soul. If you rush it, it hides from you." The two men fall into an easy silence, the kind built not from awkwardness, but from long familiarity. Thunder rumbles in the distance, not sharp but slow, like a drum struck beneath layers of velvet. In Singapore, rain is never a surprise. It is simply another guest arriving late to the night. The breeze begins to shift. Lantern flames flutter. Across the water, wooden boats begin rocking more heavily. Ahmad stands first, sensing the change the way a musician senses a shift in tempo. "It's coming," he murmurs. And then the rain arrives, not in a sudden crash, but in a soft cascade. Raindrops drum lightly on the tin roofs, tapping out a rhythm gentle enough to lull even the busiest mind. The canvas above Rajan's stall grows dark with moisture, sagging slightly under the weight. The spices remain safe, tucked in their burlap sacks, but the air around them blooms with richer scent as humidity wakes their oils. The entire market slows, but it does not stop. People adjust, shuffle closer, pull their goods under shelter. Voices grow quieter, softened by the rainfall. Lanterns dim as their flames shrink. The world grows more intimate. Ahmad drifts closer to Rajan's stall, running a hand across the wet wood of his boat. The harbor has changed color. What was once green and gold is now a deep reflective black, broken only by trembling ribbons of lantern light. The night settles deeper, thicker, and with each breath
The rain sings a little louder, drawing the entire port under its warm, rhythmic spell.
The rain thickens as the night deepens, each drop adding to the steady rhythm that now echoes across the harbor like a heartbeat shared by every ship, every stall, every soul awake beneath the tropical sky. Rajan adjusts the sacks of spices, tying their mouths with practiced loops, and Ahmed shifts his weight to keep his boat from drifting too close to the edge of the pier. The smell of wet wood rises around them, mixing with cardamom and the metallic tang of the sea. The market becomes softer, quieter, as though wrapped in the same gentle raincoat the sky is wearing. Through the silver curtain of falling water, more lanterns glow, yellow, orange, and an occasional deep red, creating a patchwork of warmth against the cool darkness. A group of Chinese fishermen settle under a large tarp nearby, telling stories in murmurs that blend with the rainfall. The words do not need to be understood. Their cadence alone is enough to soothe. Rajan continues sorting spices beneath the canvas. When he splits a pepperberry between his fingers, its citrusy heat rises into the rain, carried outward until it melts into the night air. Ahmed breathes it in and smiles. "You carry whole worlds in those sacks," he teases. Rajan nods, but his expression softens. "Spices travel farther than men. They remember where we cannot," he whispers. A distant ship bell rings, a hollow, lingering sound. The sea responds with a slow roll that nudges boats against the pier like sleepy children bumping into their mother's knee. Ahmed glances toward the horizon, but the rain hides everything beyond a few wavering lights. He moves closer to Rajan, lowering his voice. "You ever think of leaving?" Rajan shakes his head. "I've left too many places. Here, people carry their homes inside their pockets. That is enough." The rain begins to shift, no longer falling straight, but drifting sideways in long strokes as wind sweeps through the harbor. The air cools very slightly, almost imperceptibly, and along with it comes a new smell, fresh, buttery, and strangely comforting. Ahmed pauses, nose tilted upward. "Bread," he murmurs, surprised. And yes, there it is, the unmistakable scent of warm bread carried from a European bakery not far from the docks, one of the many traces of the British presence woven into this multicultural port. The smell threads through the spice-heavy air in a way that feels almost tender, like a small reminder that comfort can belong to any culture, any night. The two men sit quietly as the rain softens again, returning to its gentle, even breath. A few children run past, holding tin cups to catch raindrops, laughing with a bright sweetness that echoes against the pier stones. Their joy flickers briefly in the lantern glow before disappearing into the mist. Over time, the market thins. Traders pack away their goods, fishermen return to their boats, and the last customers wander off toward rows of wooden houses painted in colors now muted by the rain. Rajan ties off the final sack, brushing stray peppercorns from his palms. Ahmed taps the side of his skiff, preparing for one more short trip across the harbor before dawn. The night is calmer now, the harbor humming in a slow, dreamy rhythm.
The rain becomes little more than a fine mist, and as the last lanterns flicker, the scent in the air begins to change again. Something warm, something rich, something unmistakably Mediterranean. Olive oil, simmered tomatoes, and the faintest whiff of saffron drifting on a wind that does not belong to Singapore. The spices in Rojan's stall seem to stir. The rain lightens until it is barely a whisper. And slowly, like a door opening on a memory carried across oceans, the harbor of Marseille 1920 begins to glow at the edge of the night.
The Mediterranean does not simply meet Marseille. It folds into it, gently, as though the city itself has been shaped by centuries of waves brushing the stone piers in slow, unending breaths. On this evening in 1920, the harbor is wrapped in a soft gold, the kind of light that feels almost edible, warm like the crust of fresh bread. Fishing boats sway lazily, their hulls tapping the water in quiet rhythms, and the air carries a mixture of olive oil, sea salt, and the faint perfume of wild herbs drifting from the hills. Jean-Pierre, an old fisherman with a beard the color of sea foam and the patience of a man who has lived half his life waiting for tides, sits beside a tangle of nets. His hands are slow but sure, tying knots he could make even in his sleep. Beside him, the sun dips lower, painting soft amber on the wrinkles carved by salt and years. Not far away, in a small seafood restaurant facing the harbor, Marie, the head chef, wipes down her wooden counter. The restaurant is small, barely 10 tables, but every inch of it smells like the ocean turned into comfort. Simmering fish broth, garlic softened in olive oil, saffron blooming in warm liquid like a tiny sun. Marie is not young, but she moves with the quiet efficiency of someone who knows precisely where every spoon, every pot, every leaf of parsley belongs. Tonight she prepares bouillabaisse, the slow simmered soup Marseille is known for, and she prepares it the old way, the way her grandmother taught her before the war changed everything. Outside, the harbor's evening hum grows gentler. Sailors returning from the sea walk slowly, boots heavy with brine, shoulders relaxed. The war has taken much from them, but these quiet evenings by the water seem to stitch something back, just a little. Jean-Pierre finally rises, stretching his back with a soft groan. He picks up a small basket of freshly caught rockfish, the essential base for bouillabaisse, their scales shimmering with iridescent blues and reds like jewels lost and found by the sea. He walks toward Marie's restaurant at his familiar pace, steady and measured. When he enters, the warmth of the kitchen greets him like an embrace. Marie nods without turning. She knows the sound of his footsteps, the rhythm of his breathing, the way he clears his throat softly before speaking. "Good catch today." The sea was kind,
Jean-Pierre murmurs. He sets the basket on the counter, and Marie inspects the fish with gentle fingers. She chooses them the way a musician chooses notes, carefully, with reverence. The broth is already simmering in a heavy pot. She adds the rockfish one by one, letting them slip beneath the surface with a quiet splash. Saffron threads, red like the last streak of sunset, dissolve into the broth and deepen its color. Outside, the sky softens further, shifting from amber to mauve. The restaurant fills slowly with the quiet talk of sailors and locals. No one is hurried. Bouillabaisse is not a dish to rush. It is a dish that rewards time, like sleep or forgiveness. Jean-Pierre sits by the window, his cup of wine glowing pink in the fading light. He watches the harbor breathe. Boats sway. Lanterns are lit one by one. The world feels slow, as though it too wishes to sit, to sip wine, to listen to the bubbling pot. Marie checks the broth again, lowering the heat. The soup must never boil violently. It must only sigh. And in that soft sigh, the whole harbor seems to exhale with it, settling deeper into the quiet of the Mediterranean evening.
The soup thickens slowly, each minute deepening its color and blending the flavors into something that tastes like memory. Warm, quiet, and impossibly old. Marie lifts the wooden spoon, watches the broth drip in a single golden ribbon, then nods with satisfaction. It is ready for the next step. She adds sliced fennel, letting it soften until it releases its gentle sweetness. She drops in thin strips of orange peel, a secret touch her grandmother whispered to her on a night very much like this one. Outside, the late twilight deepens into a cool violet. The harbor glows in small scattered lights, ship lanterns, cafe windows, faint lamps inside fishermen's huts. Jean-Pierre swirls his wine absently, watching the last fishing boat return, its small silhouette crossing the shimmering water like a memory drifting home. When Marie finally serves the bouillabaisse, the room fills with a hush, as soft as the steam rising from the bowls. The soup carries the ocean in every breath. Saffron, rockfish, garlic, fennel, bay leaf, and the quiet patience of hours spent tending the pot. Jean-Pierre takes his first spoonful and closes his eyes, not in dramatic appreciation, but in a kind of gratitude that has no words. It tastes like the Marseille of his youth, the one that existed before warships and telegrams and too many goodbyes. A few younger sailors look up from their bowls, shoulders relaxing as warmth spreads through them. Bouillabaisse is not a meal. It is a gentle reminder that the sea can be kind, even after everything it has taken. For a long while, the restaurant exists in perfect stillness. Forks scrape softly, bowls clink. Conversations drift in low, lazy murmurs. Outside, the tide creeps in,
licking the stone pier in long, quiet stretches. Marie moves among the tables, topping off wine here, placing fresh bread there. Her steps slow and rhythmic, like part of the harbor's natural lull. Jean-Pierre finishes eating and sits back, letting the warmth settle into his bones. "Your grandmother would be proud," he murmurs. Marie smiles with her eyes more than her mouth. "She would say I added too much fennel," she answers. They both laugh softly. As the evening deepens, the air turns cooler. A faint breeze carries a new scent. Faint smoke, steel, and something faintly electrical, like the quiet hum of a modern city learning to speak. Jean-Pierre notices it first. He tilts his head, listening. The sounds of Marseille fade slightly as the harbor wind brings whispers from farther away, from across the ocean. Marie pauses near the open window. "Do you hear that?" she whispers. Jean-Pierre nodded, eyes narrowing in thought. The breeze now carries something unmistakable. The metallic scent of machinery, the distant rumble of cranes, the faint horn of a ship far larger than any wooden vessel. The Mediterranean air stirs again, cooler this time, carrying not herbs, not saffron, but the faint echo of jazz floating like a thread through the dark. Marie moves to close the shutters, but she hesitates, fingers resting gently on the frame. The breeze grows stronger, and with it comes a glow. Not golden like Marseille's sunset, but sharper, colder, a white-blue shimmer like neon reflected on water. Jean-Pierre stands slowly. He knows this feeling, a world turning, shifting, expanding. "It's not our harbor anymore," he says softly. And then the scent becomes clear. Coffee, electricity, steel, and the restless heartbeat of a city that never sleeps. The last lantern in the restaurant flickers, the air thickens, the world beyond Marseille draws closer in a single breath. And from across the Atlantic, the distant lights of New York Harbor, 1955, begin to shimmer into view. Midnight settles over New York, not like a blanket, but like a low hum, an electric breath that vibrates through steel, water, and glass. The harbor glows under towers of cold light, cranes standing like metallic giants along the waterfront, their shadows long and sharp against the concrete. Containers stack in neat, towering rows, each one holding the promise of distant continents, or the quiet fatigue of the workers who load them night after night. The air is cool, touched with the faint bite of diesel smoke drifting from tugboats. It is a different world from Marseille's golden hush or Singapore's warm drizzle. Here, the night has edges, the night has teeth. And into this landscape walks Sal, a second-generation Italian-American dock worker on the graveyard shift. His shoulders are broad, his steps steady, but his eyes carry the softened heaviness of a man who has spent years balancing work, family, and the small private dreams that only appear in the quiet hours between shifts. Sal's boots make a low thud on the planks as he begins his routine rounds. Every crate has its place. Every chain must be checked. Every crane movement must be smooth, predictable, safe. Even at midnight, the harbor is not asleep. It is merely quieter, its heartbeat slowed but steady. A ship's horn mourns across the bay, long and low. The Hudson shimmers under city lights, small waves catching reflections of neon signs, street lamps, and the occasional passing taxi. Far above, the skyline stands like a glowing promise, sharp-edged, towering, impossibly ambitious. Sal pauses a moment to stretch his back. The shift is long, 12 hours sometimes, and the pay, though better than his father ever earned, is still swallowed up by rent, food, and the endless needs of a growing family. But he works without complaint. This harbor fed his father when he first arrived from Sicily. Now it feeds Sal, his wife, and 2 young sons who sleep just a few neighborhoods away. Across the pier stands a 24-hour cafe, its neon clock flickering in pale blue. A soft hum of jazz leaks from its door each time someone pushes it open. A saxophone drifting slow and low as if the night itself were humming. After completing his inspection, Sal heads toward the cafe, wiping his hands on his worn pants. The bell above the door jingles lazily as he steps inside. The air is warmer, thicker with the smell of coffee and frying butter. A radio behind the counter murmurs softly, a jazz quartet, slow and smoky. The waitress Linda nods with a tired smile. She recognizes most night shift workers by their walk alone. Sal slides into his usual booth, its red vinyl seat cool against his back. He orders coffee, black, and a slice of pie if there's any left. Linda brings it without asking. Outside the cafe window, the harbor cranes continue their slow, mechanical ballet. The rhythm is hypnotic, a cradle of movement against a city that refuses to stop expanding even in the dark. Sal sips his coffee, letting the bitterness bloom across his tongue before fading into something comforting. The pie, apple, with a crust slightly too soft from sitting out, is warm enough to make the moment feel human. Jazz curls in the corners of the cafe like steam, mixing with the clink of dishes and the quiet conversations of workers unwinding their tired bones. Sal leans back, shoulders loosening. For a moment, the city's sharpness blurs. Midnight feels softer. Even the cranes seem to move more gently. And in the stillness, the harbor becomes something unexpected, almost tender, almost peaceful, in its own peculiar New York way.
Sal finishes his pie slowly, letting each bite linger. The cafe's warmth folds around him like a worn coat, edges frayed but comforting. Linda refills his coffee without asking, the steam curling upward in slow spirals. Outside, A crane lets out a low mechanical groan, its arm pivoting with the weight of a container swinging like a silent pendulum. Midnight deepens. The harbor hums. Life here doesn't sleep. It merely drifts from one kind of awake to another. Sal thinks of his sons, one who loves drawing ships, the other who collects bottle caps as if they were treasure. He wonders if they will ever work the docks as he and his father did, or if the world will shift again before they grow old enough to decide. Jazz swells slightly from the radio, a brushed snare drum whispering beneath a soft trumpet. The music settles into the bones of the cafe, vibrating gently in the chrome napkin holders, the cracked sugar jars, the scratched countertop carved by 1,000 tired elbows. Sal pays, leaves a tip, and steps back into the night. The wind off the Hudson tastes colder now, cleaner, as if the city has exhaled. Lights ripple across the water. A ship is preparing to leave, its engines pulsing with deep, steady breaths. Sal pauses, hand in his jacket pocket, listening. There's a moment, brief but real, when the noise of the city aligns into something almost musical. Cranes clicking, engines rumbling, jazz leaking from the cafe behind him, a rhythm, a heartbeat, a reminder that work, for all its weight, keeps the world moving. He walks along the pier, checking shadows for anything out of place. The ground shivers slightly as a crane lowers another container. In the distance, a lighthouse sweeps its beam across the water in slow arcs, painting the darkness with strokes of white. Sal lifts his gaze to the skyline, an iron forest of windows and steel. Somewhere inside those towers, people are awake for a dozen different reasons: loneliness, ambition, night shifts, unsent letters, quiet hopes they're afraid to say out loud. The thought softens him. The world is so large, and yet the night gathers every person into the same gentle dark. He returns to his post, performs the final checks, logs the crate numbers with tired precision. A tugboat passes, water splitting around it like silk. Overhead, clouds drift apart just enough for a sliver of moon to show itself, thin, pale, suspended above the city like an old photograph. The shift is nearly over. He can already imagine the warmth of home, the smell of his wife's morning coffee, the sleepy footsteps of his children padding through the apartment. But before he leaves, he takes one last slow look at the harbor. Containers stacked like building blocks, cranes frozen in elegant poses, tugboats gliding like shadows, a city made of movement and muscle and midnight breath. And then something changes, not in the harbor, but in the air. It softens, thickens, as though time itself is inhaling. The lights blur at the edges. The distant horns stretch into long, echoing notes. The hum of New York, so sharp, so electric, begins to dim like a record slowing at the end of a song.
Sal closes his eyes for a moment, breathes. The city fades into a low, rhythmic hush, and gently, like a tide pulling back across centuries, the story settles into quiet. The ships become silhouettes, the cranes become shadows, the water becomes still, and the night, this long wandering night through 6 ports, 6 lifetimes, 6 worlds, finally exhales. The harbor dims, the lights soften, and everything drifts into sleep.